Alright, we're starting a new video. It's going to be about painting. We'll be using brushes, rollers, a paint sprayer, masking, and even sanding. To be honest with you, I don't like painting outside because it's always very complicated. Between the unpredictable weather, sometimes it's nice but too hot, then it's windy, then it rains, you really have to stay calm to paint outside. Or another solution, you have to build a giant tent over the gate, because in my case it's a gate. For a facade, that would be complicated. You could cover everything, which is possible. They do it for some buildings, or remove the gate and shutters and paint them inside. The cherry on top, you start painting outside thinking you're going to have a nice peaceful day. Well, no, you have the insect gang. They show up by the hundreds and get stuck in the paint. You don't know their origins, but they're happy, high on mineral spirits and stuck in the paint. Everything's fine for them. It's just like the cat with the concrete slab. You finished your patio and poured concrete after a lot of hard work. And what does the cat do? While you're asleep, it puts its little paws in the slab. He thinks there's no reason not to. After all, in Hollywood, Michael Jackson left his handprints. Well, I'm going to leave my prints too. So, to fight off the gang of insects or the cat who puts his little paws in the concrete, when it comes to painting, you need to paint as soon as possible, no later than 2 p.m. Because after 5 p.m. for insects, it's not happy hour. It's time to get stuck in the paint. And for the cat, you just need to barricade around your concrete slab, put up some tarps, and normally you'll be fine. Alright, we've covered the insects and the cat. At the end of the video, I'll show you how I clean the spray gun, roller, brush, whatever else you use, in a bucket. And then recover the paint with the mineral spirit so you can recycle all of it at the waste disposal center. Before you start playing around with the roller, the brush, or even the spray gun, there's one mandatory step: protecting the floor, the walls, and in my case here, the pillars. With the roller, technically, I don't have to protect the pillars because I'm only going to paint the gate. But you can still make a wrong move outdoors. There's a bee, a hornet that flies by, and instinctively you have a brush or a roller in your hand, and what are you going to do? You're going to make a move to get rid of the hornet or the bee, and that's when disaster strikes because you won't even notice it, but there's a big streak of paint on the pillar. Now, if it's acrylic paint and you notice it right away, you might be able to fix it. But if it's oil-based paint and you notice it after 15 minutes, it's too late. Even if you dab it with white spirit, you'll have to repaint the pillar, and that's not what you want. So to avoid disaster, you protect the floor and the pillars as much as possible. Here you see some plastic sheeting. That's going to be great for the pillars. On the floor, I don't necessarily recommend it. If it's indoors, you can use it. Outdoors, if there's a bit of wind, it'll just keep lifting up. If you're planning to put small stones all around, it won't work. It'll still lift up. The best is this type of tarp. This is a heavy-duty tarp. It will still stick better to the ground. It's thicker. It's a bit heavier than the plastic sheeting, so it will stay well pressed to the ground. The tape, this one is special. The reference is inside. Must Tape is the brand. You'll find the link in the description. It has a special feature. It sticks to all surfaces, whether it's a smooth surface, concrete, brick wall, plaster, facade, it doesn't matter. It will stick, and it's very easy to cut. You can cut small pieces or longer strips. When I say it sticks, I mean you can even leave it outside for several days. Even in humidity, it will stay stuck to your tarp or your plaster. Well, you get the idea. Better safe than sorry, right? We cover the floor, walls, and pillars. Anything not meant to be painted, so you can relax. This is especially important for me since I'll use a paint sprayer for the finish. So, one last thing about preparation. You might say, more preparation? Well, yes, but painting is all about that. It's a lot of prep work before actually painting. The painting itself might only take 10 minutes, but the preparation can take you hours between masking and cleaning. Speaking of which, let's talk about cleaning. I sealed the joints with AMS polymer. On the outside, for those who watched the previous 10 episodes, I've already talked about this. You need to wipe the AMS polymer joints with acetone. There's a shiny film that forms on the surface. It creates a layer, you need to break it. Otherwise, it might react with the paint. As for the metal itself, I'm going to wipe it down with a cleaning solvent, then we'll paint. I'll sand it every time. Between each coat, I sand. It's called scuff sanding. Now, some people might say that's not the right term. It doesn't matter, you can call it whatever you want. But you have to clean it after sanding. It's you paint, you sand, you clean. That's very important. Okay, once the preparation is done, we can start painting. We're going to apply orange primer. Now, minium is just the term because before it used to be lead-based primer. There's no more lead in the paint. So the orange is going to look something like this. I'll apply it on the street side and the house side. We're going to apply a ferrous metal primer. This one will be white. So why white? Well, simply because we're unsure about the color. Personally, I would go for a gray. My wife, she's leaning more towards an anthracite gray. At one point, we were considering white. So, what we're going to do, And that's the advantage of the primer. Anyway, I have to apply a primer before my finishing coat. The thing is, we can do some color tests. The colors will be covered with the finishing coat, so you won't see the orange or the white anymore. But if you use a medium gray as a primer, and then you say, oh no, actually as a color, it's not great. I want it darker or lighter. Well, at least you've done your test with the color. So, have fun with the primers. Now, orange is special. But you can use blue, red, green, whatever you want. And if you don't like it, well, for the finishing coat, like I said, you can change the color. So we're going to start with white on the house side. If we don't think it suits us, we'll switch to a light gray. And if that doesn't work for us, well, light gray, it's actually a dark gray. It's between medium and light gray. Next, we'll switch to anthracite gray. Alright, we have a task before we continue painting. It's to take a flat steel bar, paint it, I still have some orange primer left, and attach it to the right post. That's the one that closes last. So it's going to press against the left post. I'll attach about 2 cement to the right post. There will be about 5 mm to 1 cement left in the middle, and the rest will go on the left post. So since it's the right post that closes last, that's why I'm attaching it to that post. Okay, so it comes and presses against the one on the left. We're going to put on some nuts. One will be a rivet nut. A rivet nut, that's what it looks like. So this is a size 6. You install it with this type of pliers. It has 2 large arms. You screw on the nut and then you crush the nut. So here it's 6 mm. I also have 8. I think I'll do it in 8. Since the head is wider, it will be better for my flat bar. So how does it work? There you go. This is just for demonstration purposes. I've prepared a scrap piece of sheet metal. You'll see we're going to drill the sheet metal. We're going to put in the rivet nut and crush it. So basically we've placed the rivet nut, then we press down. Here it's intentionally misadjusted so it doesn't get damaged. I press down on the handles, and that compresses, so it crushes the nut. And then once it's crushed, I can take a bolt and screw it into my rivet nut. It's as simple as that. It actually avoids having to weld a nut onto sheet metal. So you make a hole in the flat bar, in a tube, in a sheet. You crush the rivet nut and you can put in a bolt. The advantage here is if I need to adjust my flat bar for this winter. If the left post is too far back or not enough, I can remove my flat bar, add washers between the flat bar and the rivet nut and adjust the flat bar. That's the advantage. I'll bring you closer so we can test the rivet nut. Well, the white gate is too white, it hurts the eyes, it's not going to work. So we're going to use this paint. Let's say the gray is close to this one. It's not this color, that's just the decoration on the can. This can is from Zolpan, it's Zolpa Fur. I have another one that comes from Grassin. So, Grassin, Zolpan, Seigneurie, you can get it wherever you want, but at least choose a quality paint. It comes in satin, gloss, and even matte. So, Zolpa Fur, this gray will always look better than white. And what we're going to do is apply it with a roller. The advantage of using a roller is that I'll create some texture. I have old pipes that have been stripped, I have new pipes, and I have sheet metal. The sheet metal is scratched in spots because I picked up 2 sheets and they moved around in the truck. I'll use the roller to hide the imperfections. This roller will create a texture that I'll break up with the sander. Like I said earlier, we paint, we sand, we clean. The advantage of sanding is that it will break up that texture. I'll have a fine grain, and most importantly, it will remove the lint from the roller, the bristles from the brush, and the insects. So, this fine texture will even out the gate, hide the imperfections, and I'll be able to apply my finishing coat with the spray gun. We'll discuss this again soon, but the spray gun's advantage is it leaves no roller lint or brush hairs. As for insects, there's nothing I can do about that, but I'll get started as early as possible to avoid having insects. Now, something important, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video, wear PPE. Solvent-based paint, of course, has a smell. If you're sensitive to odors, it can cause headaches. Another thing, gloves, wear gloves. Personally, I don't enjoy washing my hands with mineral spirits, so the ones I use are Black Mamba gloves. I've already shown them to you. You'll find the link in the description. They're extremely durable. For disposable gloves, you can go ahead. They won't tear. If you use a sharp object, sharp materials, of course you can cut them, but for a paintbrush or roller, they'll work just fine. So with the gloves, avoid washing your hands with mineral spirits and wear a mask if you're sensitive to smells. Alright, for the finishing coat, we're going to paint with a spray gun. The compressor is a 150-liter one from the brand ABAC. I'm very happy with it. I've had several, it works perfectly. I have a blue spray gun and a green one. The difference between the two is the color, blue and green, but the green one is an HVLP. Basically, it works at low pressure. Both use the same cup. It's what's called a gravity feed spray gun. It holds 0.6 liters. I can't say the spray gun is high-end. I can't say it's low-end either. Let's say it's somewhere in between. These spray guns cost between 150 and 200 euros. So why am I not using the battery-powered Graco? Since I can use oil-based paint in the Graco, simply because this one is very easy to clean. The Graco is very easy to clean. But if I don't clean it properly and it gets clogged, the Graco costs between 700 and 800 euros. This one, like I said, costs between 150 and 200 euros. So, if it breaks down, it will hurt me less than the Graco, at 700, 800 euros. Besides, it can be taken apart and cleaned very easily. So, the compressor, 150 liters. For the other spray gun, you'll see the blue one, that's the minimum. You could use a 100-liter one, but that's for small parts. For a gate, 150 liters is just right. This one, the HVLP, you can use a 50-liter compressor since it works at low pressure. Okay? I'm standing up again. I'll show you the blue spray gun. So to paint the gate, we're going to use this spray gun, the blue one. It's exactly the same as the green one, except the green one works at low pressure. When I painted the door of my garden shed, I used this spray gun. So why not the green one? Well, simply because I find that outdoors the green one lacks power. If there's even a little wind, it's useless. This one has much more power. That's because there's a 150-liter compressor behind it. It can paint large surfaces, it doesn't lose pressure, and I think it has more power, especially outdoors. But again, for indoors, it's ideal because there's no wind. When you're working on small parts, it generates much less spray mist. So, the spray mist, if the spray gun is properly adjusted between the airflow, the paint flow, and the spray width, normally you shouldn't get it everywhere. If you get it everywhere, it means the spray gun is not properly adjusted, or the paint is very poorly diluted. The cup holds 600 milliliters, I never fill it completely. I'll fill it up to 500 milliliters. I'll tell you at the end of the video how many cups I use to paint the gate, knowing that I need to apply 2 coats. So now I'm going to apply the first coat and we'll see how many cups it takes. The nozzles. You can change them, but it depends on the paint brand, recommendations and dilution. I can't guarantee a specific nozzle will work with a certain paint brand. You always need to dilute the paint when using a paint sprayer. So let's talk about the paint now. Alright, for the finishing coat we've agreed on the color. Is it white, light gray or anthracite gray? Well, it'll be anthracite gray. You have the brand St. Luc Paint Metal Luke Satin Finish, so it's an anthracite gray, you'll see it in a moment. So this paint comes from Grassin Décor, which is a competitor of Zolpan and La Seigneurie. Once again, I really recommend that you buy your paint from a professional supplier. Zolpan, La Seigneurie, Grassin, whichever one you want, but buy from a professional supplier, you'll get quality. So we're going to dilute this paint. The person from Grassin recommended that I dilute it by at least 15 to 20%. In fact, it's written on the back. So drying time, 4.5 hours. Fully dry, 20 hours. Dry to the touch, 7 hours. Recoating time, 48 hours. So here, we're really dealing with a professional grade paint because usually they don't indicate such long times and it's super thick. That's why you can go up to a dilution rate of 20% application equipment, brush, roller, pneumatic spray gun, airless or air mix spray gun. So, St. Luc Paint, I'll put a link in the description for you, just like I'll put the link for Zolpan, for Seigneurie, I'll give you several links. With professional paints, you really notice a difference compared to DIY store brands. I may not have needed to say it, but this paint, like Zolpan's, is tinted, so you'll need to stir them as much as possible. I'm going to stir it for at least 5 minutes, so put the mixing paddle on the drill and start mixing. And then I'm going to pour it into a bigger container and add the mineral spirits. And we start stirring again, stirring to really get a homogeneous mixture. Alright, last thing, and then we'll get to spray painting. When I edit the video, I'm going to leave the entire spray painting part at real speed. That way, it'll give you an idea of how long it took me to paint the gate. Alright, the gate is painted. There's one coat, the weather is getting worse, it's starting to rain. So you get the idea. Basically, the gate has been painted anthracite gray. It's almost finished. I still need to do a second coat, which I'll do later when the weather is better. I might even set up a tent over the pillars to protect it from a possible shower when I'm done painting, but for now, we'll stop here for this video. Anyway, putting on a second coat, you won't see any difference from the first one, since it's going to be the same color. No point, but there you go, it's finished. It was completely stripped, it was cut, it was welded, it has sheet metal, and now it's been painted. So that's it for this gate. I'll show you something I haven't shown at all since the beginning. It's this spray paint can. I used it to repaint the motor covers. So I had completely sanded them, washed them, wiped them with acetone. Not too much because it can melt the plastic. And then I painted it. So it's almost the same color. You see, anthracite gray. I don't know if it's written on it. Yes, anthracite gray. There you go. And then I applied some varnish. There, some clear varnish. And the last thing I wanted to show you is this product. This is Solvapin. It's used for stripping. So if you have brushes that are stuck with paint and have dried over time, you soak them in Solvapin. They'll regain their vitality. Their bristles will become silky. You can give them some kibble if you want, but they'll have beautiful bristles. So Solvapin, even in a paint gun, it can clean it very well. Ideally though, it has a pretty strong smell. On the other hand, a headache is guaranteed. The gun, we clean it with mineral spirits. I showed you how I do it. I collect everything in a container and then we take that container to the waste disposal site. Now, they have large drums where you can pour gasoline, you can pour oil, whatever you want. Mineral spirits should not be thrown into nature. I use old buckets where I pour a little white spirit. I soak the roller, the brush, the gun. There's no point in pouring 50,000 liters, same for rinsing. It's enough to rinse it with a little water. And the white spirit and water that you collect in the can goes to the waste disposal site. But there you go, Solvapin, I haven't used it here. You see, it's still closed. I have another bottle that had been opened. But this one, honestly, I keep it because if I ever have a spray gun that starts to get clogged or a roller I want to save that's a bit dried out, you put this on it, it's perfect. There you go, just like Philippe Rizzoli. He was the one who did that on The Price is Right. With his microphone, it doesn't matter. I told you earlier, I would tell you how many cupfuls I used to paint the gate. Knowing that it's 3.60 meters by 2 meters at the highest point and at the lowest point of the arch top, 1.80 meters, I used 3 cupfuls, a little more than 3 cupfuls. So a little more than 1.5 liters of paint. Here the gate is solid, an open work gate. You remember how it was at the beginning. There were small bars, it had open bars. Back then I wasted I don't know how much paint. The fact that it's solid now, I wasted less paint. Well, we're coming to the end of this video. Let me know in the comments if you would have painted it the same color. Would you have done white, light gray, blue, red, green, blue, orange, purple if you want? So tell me what you think in the comments. Give a big thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know the drill. And then we'll meet again very soon for, well, I'll give you a little hint. It's going to be about insects too. I just talked to you about insects, but we're going to talk about insects again. You have a clue? Try to guess. It could be fun, okay? In the meantime, take care and see you in the next video.